Right on. We are 2 days away from uh, uh, a very interesting, important test series. We haven't seen test matches for a long time since the final between India and New Zealand. Now, India, the runner-ups, the number two side test team, will take on England, who I believe are the number three side team right now. So today's discussion will be on the questions England's management will be asking as they decide who to play for the first test match. As everyone knows, Ben Stokes is not in the tour as well. So these are the kinds of questions they will have to ask themselves as to what to do with their playing 11. So Ben Stokes is a key member of the England squad because he offers you bowling, he offers you batting. What that allows England to do is that they can play a spinner, which they sometimes do very hesitatingly because they have so much depth in fast bowlers. But with Ben Stokes, you can play a spinner because what Ben Stokes allows you to do is effectively play as many as six bowlers, with Ben Stokes being the sixth one, and definitely play five bowlers. They never have to worry about only having four specialist bowlers because Ben will always be there, so they can play a spinner and three fast bowlers alongside Ben Stokes. They could even play four fast bowlers and a spinner and a Ben Stokes. Well, no Ben Stokes. Now things change a lot for England because at best, England can go in with a six batsman and five bowler lineup. And I believe England will go ahead and do that. So the first question England will have to ask themselves is, do they play seven batsmen and four bowlers, or do they play six batsmen and five bowlers? Let's go through the pros and cons of both. Why would England want to play seven batsmen and four bowlers? One reason for that is potentially that the batting is historically weak. It's also very young, which is why I don't like to castigate them too much because most of these guys are at a very young stage of their career. They could turn out to become all-time greats in 10 years from now. So I don't want to make judgments on them right away. But as you all know, Rory Burns has about 20 Test matches. He is by far the most experienced of these younger guys. Dom Sibley has about seven or 10 or 11 test matches. Lawrence has five or six. Pope has about nine or 10. And Zach Crawley has about six or seven test matches. So these are the main batsmen England are going to invest in on heavily apart from Joe Root. They also have Josh Butler, who's going to be their keeper, and Johnny Bairstow. Both of them have substantial amount of test match experience. Now, if you were to go with the seven batsmen and four bowler combination, it allows you to, of course, pick Joe Root at two down, Rory Burns as an opener, and Josh Butler as five down. And then the other four place spots, in those four, out of those four, you can also pick Johnny Bairstow as well, which I think they should, primarily because they're so inexperienced everywhere around. His experience, just just his experience, can be really crucial. What I would do is that if we were to go with the the seven batsman, five bowler, out of those seven batsmen, I guess you'll have to give Dom Sibley the opportunity to open the batting with Rory Burns. You should pretty much pencil in Dom Sibley to open the batting, even though Hasib Hamid has done really well and made a really good case for playing in the first Test match, having scored 100 in a warm-up game. But as always is the case, management will always prefer and give trust at the current incumbent opener, and that is Dom Sibley. It would be harsh to take him out and replace him with Hasib Hamid because he did play a decent innings in the second innings at the Lord's Test match against New Zealand. So just two innings ago, he did play a good innings. But he's sort of Pujara without the CV of a Pujara. He blocks, and might score you a 60, 70 and expend a lot of time on the crease. But he doesn't play match-winning innings. He doesn't play impact innings. He's not going to change the course of of the rhythm or the momentum of a game. So he is effective if you have stroke makers around him. But currently, the people around him are Rory Burns and Zach Crawley, who themselves are pretty young and inexperienced as well. So what Dom Sibley brings to the table is important, but the problem with Dom Sibley is that he's not going to put the bowling attack under any kind of pressure. He might play and miss many, block many, but rarely does he get the bowling attack under severe pressure. Nevertheless, I think he will play. I guess he should play. It is, however, frustrating for just the neutral cricket viewer to watch him play over someone like Hasib Hamid, because Hasib Hamid clearly has more strokes to offer. He clearly can put the bowlers under pressure as well. He's a more boundary hitter. He can score big runs as well. And he is in form, most importantly, as well. That's something Dom Sibley, Zach Crawley, Oli Pope, Dan Lawrence, even to some extent Rory Burns are not necessarily have form. But anyways, Sibley will play. So you're gonna have Sibley and Rory Burns opening the batting for England. One down will not be Joe Root. He only prefers to bat at two down. So two down is Joe Root. One down, I guess we'll have to go with Zach Crawley because that's the position he's been batting in. And you don't really have anybody else to play him over as well, with Hamid, of course, being the reserve opener. So we have the England four set up as usual. Sibley, Burns, Crawley, Root. Who are you going to play at number five? That's the important question because you don't have Ben Stokes anymore. Now, this is where England have three candidates. Ollie Pope is one, Johnny Bairstow is another, and Dan Lawrence is the third. If you go with seven batsmen, you can pick as many as two out of these three for number five and six spot, with Josh Butler playing five down at number seven. And I would argue that because Oli Pope has a bit of a calf or a hamstring injury currently, his chances of playing the first test are, I think, slim. I don't think he's been ruled out yet, but he's definitely under some injury cloud. If that is the case, and you do go with seven batsmen, you don't have to worry about picking between Bairstow or Dan Lawrence. You can pick both Bairstow and Dan Lawrence. So you essentially what allows you to do with picking seven batsmen is that allows you to pick all the batsmen that are currently available for you, apart from Hasib Hamid, your reserve opener, and Ollie Pope, your middle order batsman who's currently under some injury scare. You get to see Johnny Bairstow back. You get to invest more in Dan Lawrence, who did score a good 60 70 against New Zealand as well. And you get to have a rather dynamic lower middle order batting because Bairstow, Dan Lawrence, and Josh Butler all enjoy to play their strokes. And they will all be batting in that middle order, which allows them to play their strokes. So you have at least an entertaining lower middle order batting, if not trustworthy. Trust, of course, is not there yet because Bairstow, we haven't seen him do anything in the test format for a long time. However, we don't know what kind of form he's in or not. He might be in a great form for test cricket. He might be licking his chops and just might have the might be the one who scores the first century of the series. You never know, but we just don't know what to expect from him. And we don't know what to expect from the young England players as well because they all have a good quality 50 or so or a good quality 100. For Zach Crawley even has a double 100, but their runs they have quality, but their runs comes at a very sparse rate. They don't play well frequently because they just don't have that experience yet. So that is the positive of playing seven. You can try everybody out. You can put all your betting out there and see how well they play. And if they do play very well, you can then continue with that trend. The issue, of course, with playing seven batsmen is that England does not go with only four bowlers. Historically speaking, over the past 6-7 years, England's biggest strength has been their resources and their bowling. And in particular, they have people who can bat and bowl or bowl and bat. So Ben Stokes is a great example. He's a great all-rounder. He's the best all-rounder in world cricket because while he's a bowler, he can also be the best batsman in the world. So he's a batsman who can bowl for you. And then when you look at other people like Chris Wokes, Sam Curran, Ollie Robinson, and now even guys like Mark Wood. These are guys who are bowlers, but they can clearly bat as well. So this is England's strength. This is where England beats India in terms of just a debate about the matchups. India doesn't have, apart from Shardul Thakur, Ashwin, and Jadeja, but Ashwin and Jadeja being spinners. If we were to just talk about pace bowlers who can bat, apart from Thakur, India does not have any pace bowler who can bat. You might get a couple of fours from Shami. Even Bumrah may be able to score 12 or 10 or 12 runs. You may get Ishant Sharma to bat 50 balls as well. But we can all say quite confidently that you can't expect these guys to go out there and give you a really well-made 45 or a really well-made 60, 70. You could expect that from someone like an Ollie Robinson, even a Mark Wood right now. You might not get that because I think Ashwin will have his own say. Ashwin will want to bowl against these guys, and maybe against spinners in particular, they would struggle in very the same way that a guy like Tim Southee or a Neil Wagner or a Trent Bolt, while very enterprising playing their strokes against fast bowlers, playing all kinds of shots on back foot, front foot, they ultimately start to struggle against the spin. They just don't know where to hit the ball against the spinners. They don't play spin frequently enough. So Ashwin might be able to tame England's lower order batting. But from the last series, we saw only reason England was able to win that one for one is because of the lower order batting. On many occasions, they were in serious trouble. Scorecards like 88 for 6 or 80 for 7, and then you would have uh, Sam Sam Curran score a 50 and get England to some kind of like a 200 score and just get put them in position, and then ultimately they went on to win those matches. So England's strength is their lower order fast bowlers who can bat. So if you're going to play 7 batsmen, now you're just down to 4 bowlers. The problem is you can still pick 4 fast bowlers and you can still pick like a Sam Curran as well as an Ollie Robinson to go at number 8 and number 9, for instance, and then have Broad and Anderson as 10 and 11. Now you have relatively good depth in your batting attack because you have batsmen all the way to guys who can bat all the way to 9. And a guy like Stuart Broad, while not necessarily batting that much nowadays, he has 169 under his belt. He can hit a ball. He has the experience of scoring lots of runs as well. Even Jimmy Anderson is not the worst number 11. He can block the ball. He has a reverse sweep. He knows he's got a certain game that he knows how to play. He can stick around too. So you have a lot of batting now, but the problem then becomes your left arm spinner Jack Leach, who has been frustrated that he hasn't gotten any chance to bowl. He won't be in that team then. The pitches are gonna take turn. There is a lot of heat in England. The pitches will be dry. As you can see from the 100, the scores are not necessarily that big. Highest scores, people are scoring about 150 in 100 balls, which is good amount of runs, but not as high as a 180 or something, really way up there. So spin will come into the play as well, and so you have to play Jack Leach. Now, if you do play Jack Leach, what do? Do you just pick one of Sam Curran, Mark Wood, and Ollie Robinson? You would have to if you are indeed picking Broad and Anderson for your frontline seamers. So this is the issue that England will face. If they were to go with 7 batsmen, they can only now pick 4 out of numerous candidates that they all like. Right? So this is England's strength. England's strength is this trio of Sam Curran, Ollie Robinson, and Mark Wood. All 3 guys, you can expect them to take wickets for you. All 3 guys, you can even expect them to score runs from you. So they will, in fact, I think, ideally want to play all 3 of them. At least at the minimum, 2 of them, and as well as a Jack Leach and a Broad and an Anderson. So that makes it difficult for you to pick 7 batsmen and 4 bowlers because you really want to pick minimum 5 bowlers here. Okay, so if you were to go with a 5 bowler option, who would those 5 bowlers ideally be? Well, you can lock in Broad and Anderson. That's your opening bowlers. They have more than 1,000 test wickets collectively. Their numbers say it all. Unless they want to rest, you play both of them. I think there's too much experience there to play only one as opposed to the other. You have done this playing one over the other away. In England, you play both. So you have those 2. Jack Leach, I think you have to play Jack Leach because if this pitch is spinning just even a little bit, even if it doesn't spin for the first 4 days and might come into play for day 5, you have to pick Jack Leach. He can take you wickets when the pitch is spinning, but he can also control an end when you just need him to bowl for doing such purposes. He can also bat a little bit, so he's actually a really good cricketer. He has to play too. So those are your 3. Who the other 2 will be? I think the 4th one has to be Sam Curran. I think Sam Curran will most certainly be playing this first test match because he hasn't played lately, but he's done a lot of T20 cricket. I hope his test cricket is in good form as well. He seems to be a person that they imagine to be a star moving forward. He was the man of the series in the last test series. Makes a lot of sense to pick him as well. So now you're down to one more option for a bowler, and your candidates are Mark Wood and Ollie Robinson, and you have to pick one of those 2. This is where it gets really interesting because Wood offers you pace. He can hurry the batsman. He might not bowl the most mesmerizing spells over and over again, but he can give you 2 to 3 really quick wickets at any stage of the game just because of how fast he bowls. Anytime a wicket will fall, the new batsman will struggle against Mark Wood. That's the key reason why Mark Wood makes a good case to play for England. Ollie Robinson, on the other hand, is a kind of a player who is young but has an old person's brain. He has an he's like an old soul, as they say in English, because the man just knows how to bowl Test cricket. He was very impressive in the first Test he played. He took 8 wickets. He should have had a 5-4. Head Stuart Broad not dropped a catch of his bowling. He looked like the most impressive bowler when New Zealand played England at Lords, and he looked like somebody who knows how to bowl despite playing his first Test match. So for me, Ollie Robinson is a really interesting, appetizing candidate. I want to see him play. I want to see him play all 5 Test matches because I really think England may have unearthed their future. Well, I wouldn't say James Anderson because I don't think you'll ever have somebody who's going to take as many wickets as James Anderson is or will. But you definitely have someone who can easily be in the 300 to maybe even the 400 Test wicket mark with Ollie Robinson because he understands how to bowl in English conditions really, really well, and he's a pure Test bowler. The guy may not have any speed, but he has a lot of guile. He knows where to land the ball. You can just bank on him to deliver you really, really good spells. So in many ways, it's actually quite similar to what Anderson offers. If you want to double down on what Anderson offers and go for control and miserly spells, Robinson is your guy. He's also a very accomplished batsman. But then Mark Wood again will make a really enticing claim to be playing as well because Mark Wood offers you that pace and his batting is not bad. He has really improved his batting. So you could plug in Mark Wood at 6 down, which would not be too high for him or something like that. So these are your candidates if you're going to go with the 5 bowling option, in which case you're down to now 6 batsmen. Now, out of those 6 batsmen, 3 of them are Root, Burns, and Joss Butler. You're down to 3 other. I think fourth one is Dom Sibley. I think fifth one is Zach Crawley, and this is the issue with just having 6 batsmen. Now you got to pick only one between Bairstow, Dan Lawrence, and Ollie Pope. And I suppose the answer would be Dan Lawrence in that case. So we wouldn't get to see Johnny Bairstow play the first Test match if they go with 6 batsmen. So England has problems, but they do have solutions to these problems as well. Regardless of which option they go for, what is what does help them tremendously is that while they lose Ben Stokes, the batsman who can bowl, they do have plenty of candidates who are bowlers who can bat. In which case, they will expect and hope to get a lot of runs from whoever bats at 5 down, 6 down, and 7 down. And those people, the candidates for you are Sam Curran, Ollie Robinson, and Mark Wood. You might see all 3 play, probably not, but I do think you should expect to see 2 of those 3 play if England go with just 6 batsmen. Um, Broad and Anderson again should be automatic, and I think Jack Leach should be automatic too because while he has not been played in the New Zealand series, it wouldn't be quite a bold decision not to play him in this Test series. Now the weather is interesting. I've heard there might be some rain around the corner as well. Even then, I would think that a Jack Leach makes a ton of sense because you just do not know how much the pitch will start to spin on day 4 and on day 5. So that is England's team for you. The decisions they have to make is pretty simple. Do you go with 7 batsmen or 6 batsmen? But this is the decision that is being forced upon them, a debate that's forced upon them by the exclusion of Ben Stokes. Because when Ben Stokes was around, they could have gone with 7 batsmen and still have played 5 bowlers, which very few teams can do apart from England because of the number of players England has who can bowl and bat as well. So that is the big strength England has over India. Many people are arguing that India has the best chance of winning this series, better chance than they ever had before. I find those kinds of arguments a little silly just because we don't know who these players are going to be in the future. We just don't know how good Dan Lawrence is. We just don't know how good Zach Crawley is. For that matter, even how good Dom Sibley might be down the road. We don't know the answers to these questions. So clearly, while you look at the batting cards on both sides, one side has tremendous experience, the other side has absolutely no experience other than Joe Root, and to some extent Joss Butler, and to even lesser extent Rory Burns. I don't like to make those arguments because we cannot see the future. We just don't know. It's very foreseeable that next year, Dan Lawrence, Oli Pope, Don Sibley, and Zach Crawley are all playing domestic cricket and without any future for England. But it's also very possible all four of them are like upcoming stars for for what they will have accomplished in matches like the upcoming series, right? So we can't make any predictions of that sort. All we know is that when it comes to experience, India has experience over England in their batting, and India has the best Test player in Ravi Ashwin, and they have a quartet of really good fast bowlers. So yes, it makes a lot of sense to say India's best chance of winning a series in England is now, but India won a series in 2007, and I'm sure England had a very highly experienced side back then too. They had just beaten Australia in the Ashes 2 years before that. So you just never know really, like when a team actually gets to beat an opposition at their home ground. You don't know when those things will happen. England, like vice versa, defeated India in 2011, I think, or 10 in India, and that was a series that many people didn't see it coming. In that England would beat India in India. So you just never know when is the best chance to win. You can't make those predictions. I think by just looking at the number of matches the players from both teams have played. So this was my implicit way of endorsing England's young batters because I believe that while their returns have been not so good, while their averages are in low 30s or late 20s and do not look very promising, they are very promising players. They are the best players for the longer format in England conditions, and they just have to trust their game and play the way they did play in the county game to get here. Nonetheless, I think it is a fair thing to argue that the quality of cricket has regressed markedly uh, over the last decade and a decade and a half. Because if you were to just go on YouTube and just look at the highlights of the second test match, the Ashes in 2005, where England defeated Australia by just 2 runs, it wasn't so much just how close the match was, it was really the theater, the way everything progressed to that scenario and the duels, the battles, one-on-one battle between Flintoff and Warne, and the larger battle between England and Australia. I mean, you look at some of the talent across the aisle on both sides, and it was remarkable. Marcus Trescothick, Justin Langer, Matthew Hayden, Ian Bell was just a beginner back then. He turned out to be a great England batsman. Kevin Peterson's debut series, he's one of the finest players of this generation. How many other guys? Damian Martin was in that squad. Michael Clark, another young upcoming guy, was in that squad. Adam Gilchrist, the best keeper batsman ever. Shane Warne, the best bowler, leg spin bowler, definitely ever. You had Jason Gillespie, Kasprovic, and Brett Lee for Australia. A really good trio. All three of them bowled really well in that match. And on the other end, you had Harmison, you had Simon Jones, and you had Hogarth, and you had Andrew Flintoff, who was the finest all-rounder from England side. Even Ashley Giles, who when I used to watch him play, I used to think of him as a defensive bowler without much talent, but he takes the wicket of Ponting and Michael Clark in that series. I mean, it is one heck of a series. That match is an incredible test match. It's one of the best test matches I've ever seen, or I have come to look recognized as one of the best, having seen the highlights 15 years, 16 years since that match had transpired. And what I was both thrilled watching it, but I was also a little nostalgic watching it because I clearly realized the talent today is nowhere close to what talent used to be back then. Primarily, I think T20 cricket may have done it. I think just the quantity of cricket matches that are being played are also a key reason why the talent has sort of regressed. Because when you look at England right now, yeah, Rory Burns, Dom Sibley, I'm giving my confidence to them. I hope they do well, but none of them are one-fourth a player of Marcus Trescothick or Andrew Strauss. And that's a big concern for world cricket. Are we going to have talented cricketers like we used to have in that era? Because 2005 is really the beginning of T20 cricket. That's when international T20 matches start to take over. And if you just were to watch the highlights of that second test match, and the highlights are available on YouTube, it's a long highlights, 10 minutes long highlights. It's mouth gripping stuff. And I just do not foresee the quality of cricket in the next 2 days to even be half as good as the quality of cricket in that test match, which is a sad thing. I hope I'm wrong, but I think I'm correct because I just don't see that kind of talent, that kind of focus, that kind of passion, even. Um, amongst these players. I think they all want to win, but do they know that they are capable of producing such magic, such high quality cricket? Just don't know. I don't think they're practicing enough. I don't think they're playing enough tour matches. Um, and I just think with the quarantines and the bubble life, I just don't think they're getting the best practice that an international player needs to produce the best results out there. And that's just the conditions, let alone the personnel. I mean, it's just the conditions are such. So those are some of the sad things. But nevertheless, the test series that will happen will still be one of the best series amongst the current lot of teams. I mean, this is still the number second team playing against the number third team, playing in the backyard of the number third team. This still has some drama with India most being declared as having the best chances of beating India, England, and England. So there's a lot of kind of, I guess, expectation from India, and that's in that context. Then England is preparing for the Ashes, so there's that. Um, so there is a lot of matchups with Kohli and Anderson. Probably there's a lot of drama that you can build the series up. You can talk a lot about a lot of players with building the series up. However, you look at that test match, the second test of Ashes, the 2 runs win for England, and you think about what quality of cricket you will see over the next month and a half in this upcoming series, and you will feel disappointed by the state of cricket today, the state of Test cricket in particular. I hope I am wrong, but that is my gloomy take on what is potentially the decline of Test cricket. Nevertheless, we look forward to watching this series. I will be offering my day to day analysis every single day. I will offer you what I saw what happened. I'm not a international test player or a cricket player of an international pedigree. I'm an amateur player, but I've played with people who have played international cricket. I have certain experiences of playing cricket, and I have seen the game for a long period of time. And I have the honor of correctly predicting India beating Australia this past series. After the second test in Melbourne, I argued India would win that series 2-1, which is exactly what India did. So I oftentimes do have my pulse on the beat, and I can foresee things based on having seen things before. So, with all that said, I hope you find my analysis useful, and I hope you enjoy my analysis and engage in a conversation and a debate with me by using the chat button as well. So, have a good one. Take care. See you later.